And before I stop, anything else?
No, I
No?
think that
Okay.
I've covered a lot of the territory. I wanted to say that basically that my experience of life and my trust in the church and in God, my feelings for other people, sometimes have been rattled by different circumstances, but basically I think I've had a good life, and I want to continue, as I mentioned just recently now, I want to continue thinking that for everybody there's a place that is waiting for us, and that in that same place for me too, and that we'll all, I could know that CEO pakin no ko or no, I said it wrong. I could know that CEO pakin no ko. Somewhere we'll all be together in a beautiful place, which is God's home. Something to that effect.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That was great.
All right.
Well, yeah, you've got a pretty complete coverage, eh?
Yeah.
And in the course of that, there's adventure stories that come all along the way that would be really interesting. I would like someday, if people wanted that, I would like to write a story that would show the power of faith in all of us, and in the middle of a changing world, how our faith in God has remained the same over the ages, even though we have an imperfect understanding of what God wants of us. We all have images of God, eh? And but God is not what we imagine. We say the Our Father, but God is not necessarily a male. You know, there's no male and female in heaven. So our words, the words we use to describe God, are imperfect. They're words that apply to our world, eh? And we sort of try to project that image onto God. It's like in the Bible, people said, well, you know, Jesus, well, what's going to happen if a man has a wife and then she dies, and if he marries again, and she dies, and he dies, if they all get to heaven together, which one of the two is going to be his wife? And Jesus said, oh, you people.
Missing the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of said, and I think we're always doing that. We're kind of missing the point. We have an imperfect image of what or who God is. And I think that's why we have so much trouble in our world. That's why people can say, well, my God here's my God. Well, no, there's only one God. You know, why do we say things like that when our concept of the Creator is so limited by our own personal human experience that we can never express the full reality by using human words. Human words are limited, eh? And that's the problem. We can't really dream. You know, we even say, well, in the Bible, Jesus went up to heaven. Well, why do you say up? Is heaven there? Up? Why didn't you say, well, Jesus went down to heaven? Could be just as true. Because we say, well, that's heaven. No, that's heaven. That's the sky. It's the immensity of space. Well, where's heaven? Maybe it's just a new dimension. Maybe it's just, it's part of, you know, we use human words to express something. And the Bible uses human words because the Bible is trying to reach humans, to get us to understand something that you can't really express. Where is the God? Where do we go? I used to think, well, someday when I die and I'm on the way to heaven, I sure like to go through space and notice where the planets are. I'd like to identify them once in my life. Maybe that's another one of my bucket activities. I'd like to sit in front of a telescope that is so strong that I could finally see, when I see the morning star, for example, and I think of the Indian legends about morning star, well, I'd like to find out, well, which planet is that? I'd like to bring it up strong enough that I could finally say at the end of my life, that's Venus. I'd like to be able to see that close, you know, because maybe when I die, maybe I won't travel that way. Maybe heaven is another dimension. You know, maybe it's not a reality. I'm still thinking something material. These are material objects in the sky. Maybe I won't drive by them. You know, I'm thinking Star Trek now.
Yeah.
But so, you know, there's so many realities that we can't really express. And I'm really concerned about how do we express the reality of in the mind of other people, like you were talking today about people in Japan, China. When they think of God, well, they think of God differently than we do. Still, it's God. Now, how do we get together? I don't know. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions that we still want to look at, and I don't know all those answers, but I'm searching. I think by discovering the whole theology of God, who wants everybody, I think that's the beginning of an answer, who loves everybody. But I haven't solved the problem of the enemies in the Bible. You know, I don't, and which leads us to the enemies of today. I haven't solved that in my mind, but I think the key is going to be somewhere we have to overcome the limitation of our human words when we're trying to describe something, and reach into the reality of the spirit world. What is that? We can't describe it, but we're searching, and we've been told, like that's why God sent Jesus to the world, to help us figure out something that we can't figure out alone. He sent a human, he sent the Spirit of Jesus into a human form so that he would use human words and we would see a human person, and then we can start maybe understanding a bit of what the reality is, or what God really is. You know, we're all struggling with that.
We're all on the path.
We're on the road,
On the road again.
And then on the road, it's a nice road. It's a long road, but it's a beautiful road. And we come to the time when we think back. If we're talking about our own family history, we think back about my dad and my mom, who died, and who were somewhere there, because their faith was really strong, and yet their faith was very limited. They had that old vision of God being a judge. And that's the way they lived their life. And they did a good job. They were an example to me all the way through. I said, boy, I could never... just now we finished going through Lent. I could think of what Dad used to do for his Lent. Oh boy, he was a heck of a lot farther ahead than me. I think about his way of living his faith in terms of prayer every day and going to church every Sunday, and I'm stuck in this part of my life when I'm not doing that as faithful as he did, and yet I want to get closer, but it's part of my journey yet. I hope I can have a little while more on that road to be able to reach my goal,
Yeah. Keep your shoes handy.
Yeah.
Okay.